of Wildcat Weekly. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Joe Kraus. We thank you all again for joining us this week. We are already halfway through the month of November, and this is episode number 10 of the show since we rebooted the show a couple months ago. If you've been with us since episode 1, we truly appreciate it. Hopefully, you're having as much fun tuning in each week as I have had doing the show every week. And if this is the first time you're checking out our show, thanks for clicking on the play button. We have another great guest coming up in just a moment. But in case you didn't know, Wildcat Weekly is a show where we go one-on-one with your favorite Demon student athletes and coaches to discuss how they're preparing for the start of the upcoming season, their past success with the Wildcats, and what it's meant to them to be part of the Damon College community. As always, if you haven't, be sure to find us on social media. We are all across it. We are on Twitter at Damon Athletics, like our Facebook page, Damon College Athletics, and visit our website, DamonWildcats.com. My partner Mike MacDonald continues his alumni series, going one-on-one with former Wildcats, talking about their time here on Main Street and what they've been doing out in the big world. We also have our Student Athlete Spotlight series, the Wildcat Social Series, where our Wildcats share their perspective on what's been going on in the world the past few months. And all my feature stories that I've done since the start of the semester, I've been fortunate to meet a lot of great people across campus and beyond. All that and more is on our website, DamonWildcats.com. Our guest tonight returns for a seventh season on the Damon hardwood and has over 30 years of coaching experience on the Western New York basketball circuit, racking up nearly 400 wins. Last winter, the Wildcats went 24 and 8, tying for the most wins in a season in the program's Division II era, and earned an at-large bid for the Big Dance for the second straight season. He's just as well known for his work in the Western New York community, and in August he received the Jim Sadlin Inspiration Award from the American Cancer Society of Western New York. Great stuff they are all doing, and our guest today, he was awarded because of his dedication towards the Coaches versus Cancer program. Please welcome to the show for episode number 10, the Damon men's basketball head coach, Mr. Mike MacDonald. And we're here on Wildcat Weekly, episode number 10, with Damon men's basketball coach, Mike MacDonald. Mike, we appreciate you joining us today. How are you?
Great, Joe. How are you?
Well, thanks. And, Damon basketball, as we've mentioned in the past and on the broadcast with my partner, Mike MacDonald, over the years, there's been a lot of success. And last season was a rather magical campaign for your team. 24 and 8, the most wins, tied for the most wins in a season since joining the Division II era, and the second straight season making it to the Big Dance. So I guess what were maybe the biggest positives and negatives from last season, starting with going all the way back from game 1 to all the way at the end in game 32?
Game one seems like it was about 25 years ago right now, Joe. When you think about what we did and how we started off the season we practiced about 5 days and then had to go play University of Buffalo. And then one day of practice and we went and played Syracuse in the Carrier Dome. And those were exhibitions, but those were great teaching tools for our guys and great experiences for our guys. We always talk about when we recruit kids that we want them to have a great experience. And I think something like that, playing in the Carrier Dome against Syracuse, that's a pretty neat experience. And then after one more exhibition game against a Canadian team, we hopped on a plane and flew out to Kansas City and drove up to St. Joseph's, Missouri, and played in the number one team in Division II, Northwest Missouri State, in the National Small College Hall of Fame Classic. So you talk about opportunities. The way the season started off really was kind of magical. And you look at, we lost that first game, but then we went on a winning streak and we went all the way up till just before Christmas until we lost again. I think we maybe won 10 or 11 straight, something like that. Lost a tough one on the road to St. Thomas Aquinas, and then beat St. Rose before we went into Christmas time. So it was the beginning of the part of the year. I thought we started off great, and I think that was a testament to having a veteran team, guys who'd been around. We had 4 starters returning, and then we added a grad transfer in Joey Wallace, and we meshed pretty quickly, and we had a lot of guys who kind of knew the language we were speaking heading into the season, and it made it a lot easier for us as we move forward.
I imagine that um, after the way, unfortunately, last season ended and trying to get used to all these new protocols, like we talked about on the show with Jeff Sage a few weeks ago, I imagine the guys needed some time to adjust to those protocols and frankly get used to playing with each other, some new guys for the first time in months here. So I guess what were maybe how would you describe the gradual build up to hopefully the target is still 2021 around here. And getting those new protocols and making sure the guys were on the same page of, hey, we need to, start slow from the ground up again, kind of like a year one scenario, and then keep moving on.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Like, it is almost like year one in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously we have a couple guys who played some very good minutes and started for us at a different time. Obviously Andrew Cisco and Kyle Harris, but then we have a lot of new guys and guys who maybe redshirted last year or sat out, and so not only do they have that, are you dealing with, but then you're dealing with the fact that a lot of these guys haven't played 5-on-5 basketball since March. We talked about it. We've started workouts now, and we talked about, hey, you haven't done a closeout drill, you haven't done a defensive slide, or maybe they've had some instances where they've played some pickup before, but it's not at the level of what we're kind of expecting, and that's a big difference. Reality is you're trying to mesh new players, new guys into a team, and you don't have the capabilities of some of the tricks we could do in the past, where you could maybe have a team meal together, have them over my house to just kind of hang out for a day and do some of those things. Because of COVID, there's some strict restrictions. So I think the team building definitely is something that takes a hit right now, and everybody's going through this. Everybody's in the same boat. Every team, every sport. The most important thing is that our kids are safe, and that they're healthy, and that they're able to participate in their sport that they love for the 2021 season.
Here we go with Mike MacDonald today on Wildcat Weekly, and you mentioned a couple of the names already, but it's going to be a rather different looking team in terms of the roster, especially in the backcourt. For years, we were saying Breon Harris and Jay Sarkis. You mentioned Joey already. Jeff Redband slides over now to an assistant coaching role. But your recruiting class.
And he can't shoot during that role either, so he's not happy. He can't shoot 3-pointers like he used to do.
Definitely. And that recruiting class that you brought in for this incoming year, you have 3 top Western New York products, Justin Johnson, Justin Hemphill, and I read quickly it was the first time that a first-team All-Western New York recruit came to Demon since one of your former guards, Mark Capola, all the way back in 2010. And you also brought in a couple of guys from Rochester and an experienced graduate transfer. So why was there, and I don't know if you noticed this until I mentioned it now, but was there an emphasis on staying local this year for your recruiting class?
No, I think we always try and stay local if we can. I mean, I'd like to try and keep the kids from Western New York. Rochester's been great to us through the years. You go back to Jay Sarkis, Jeff Redband, Dion Hamilton, Gerald Beverly. You can go down even before I got here. They've had really good guys from Rochester, and I think if we can do that, that's important to us. I think that helps build a program when you do that. When you get kids who are from the area, their parents are going to come to the games once we're allowed to have fans at the games, and they come to they're part of the program. It helps build the continuity and the name recognition of Damon, but it also it says, hey, this kid was a pretty good player. Tyler Hine was a good player in high school. Justin Johnson, Justin Hemphill, and look where they went to Damon, and they had a great career. I want to try and do the same thing, and I think we've been fortunate to be able to do that, and I think it helps to build up just really it helps you to build up the name recognition locally, and then you can expand out.
Anything that maybe the 6 guys bring to the table individually from what you've seen so far?
We have a lot of different things, a lot of different. They all have their abilities that are really good. Tyler can really shoot it. Andrew Mason from Rochester, from Webster, New York, can really shoot it. Tony Arnold can score. He's from the same high school that East Ridge High School in Rochester produced Supreme Hannah, who's another great player here in our time. Um, and then I think Justin Johnson's I've seen him play since probably he was a sophomore or freshman in high school, or probably even before that. I remember him coming to my camps way back in the day, and he's a very good point guard and can get by guys. Justin Hemphill is a bigger guy who can really pass and rebound, has a nose for the ball. So I think they all bring something different to it. What you're going to run into, Joe, though, is the jump from high school to college is a significant jump, and guys are going to go through their growing pains, and that's normal. That's what's going to happen. I think it's weird, strange, however, whatever you want to call it, beneficial that maybe the NCAA is going to give everybody an extra year. So these guys will be freshmen again next year. So maybe who knows? Maybe in 2021, sometime in mid-November, you and I will have the same chat, and we'll be talking about our freshman class again. It'll be the same names, but there'll be a little bit more experience, which is good.
Definitely. And you mentioned about the jump from high school to college, not even in the sport, but also just academically. I mean, just trying to make that transition. And one of the guys that we've talked about a lot over the years that made that solid transition is Andrew Cisco, one of the top returning guys coming back, one of the upperclassmen coming back. You mentioned Kyle Harris, too, early on. But it was interesting talking with Andrew about the roster coming back. And I said, how does it feel to be one of the older guys coming back? And he said, Joe, I'm actually the fourth oldest guy on the team this year. So I guess with that being said, and he said too that the upperclassmen from last year, they were redshirt players. They had a huge role, even in practice, just having that experience going one-on-one with the starters. So how beneficial do you think that having that big group of underclassmen in this condensed, weird, whatever adjective you want to use for the season, having all those guys coming back and having some familiarity of playing college basketball?
I think it's important. I think, again, you don't know what practice times are going to look like. You don't know if you're going to have to pause for a little while. You see football and basketball teams around the country having to take a pause, and then you're going to have to start up again. So I think the more you can be together, the more experience you have to lean on, it's going to help. Honestly, we have Andrew, who has a ton of experience. We have Kyle Harris, who has some experience. Then we have some of our guys who redshirted in the past and maybe are older than their eligibility year, if that makes sense. And that's a Trevor Book, who's a sophomore, Ryan Bradley, who is a sophomore. Those guys have been around multiple years, and that helps us. Chris Luke is an older senior because he redshirted when he was in junior college. He's been very beneficial for our program in his year plus here, and he's an important part of our team. We have guys who redshirted last year, like Joey Atkins and Pat Higgins. Joey played a year down at Jefferson, down in Philadelphia. He played at this level, and then he redshirted last year. Pat Higgins was a high school kid, but he had a chance to practice with us all year. So I think anytime you have experience like that, it helps. One guy we didn't mention should play an important part for us is Ryan Salsberg. Ryan played just sparingly last year, and that's part of the problem with being on a veteran team. He had minutes where he played very well. He had some brief flashes against Lemoyne. I know off the top of my head that one was big. He played very well against when we beat West Liberty, who was number 4 in the country here. He played well in a cameo role. But again, now your role expands, and maybe you're not the star, but maybe you're a co-star, and all of a sudden you have to be able to play to your role and be able to play to that ability, and that's sometimes tough for guys, and it takes a little time. So this year will be all about that, getting guys' feet wet. The good thing is we do have Andrew to kind of lean on, and guys know that we can play through him a little bit.
Definitely, that we before me mentality that you and a lot of other coaches have harped on as well. And you've also, which is really cool to see, is that you've always had your door open, right? I mean, you're always willing to lend the helping hand. You've had your former players join your coaching staff, like Jeff this year, as we mentioned. And even your time helping out in the community in the youth with helping out the youth and the Coaches versus Cancer campaign, which you organize here at the start of each season for Damon. I think it's like usually early November for us. But why, Mike, is the big picture view so important to you in the program, and especially in a year like we've had in 2020?
But I think what you realize, Joe, the old saying, you don't realize what you had until it's gone. And, I think we're all kind of going through that right now a little bit. Our guys who were seniors last year, Jay Sarkis, Breon Harris, Joey Wallace, Jeff Redband, they had the NCAA tournament taken from them. We were on the bus on the way to go play a game, and then it was gone. And you miss out on the ability to be on a bus with your teammates, to hang out, to be in a hotel, to play games, win, lose, whatever. But that experience, um, you know, listen, we all talk about, guys want to go to the NBA and all that stuff. I get it, but that's very unlikely, right? And what's more likely is you're gonna maybe you get a chance to go play overseas, like some of our guys have done, right? That's great. But in the end, you're gonna get a job. You're gonna be out there in the community. You're gonna be part of something. And so you want these 4 or 5 years you're here at college to be special, to be a great experience. And I think that's one thing we always try to emphasize with our guys and really treasure what you have because you never know when it's going to be taken away. And I think for all of us, coaches included, myself, Ryan Grandit's my assistant, and Jeff Redband, those guys, basketball was taken away from us. We have a normal routine what we do in the spring with workouts. We move in the summer. We have camps. We're helping kids, working with kids. Then we move into the fall and we start doing individual workouts with our guys. That routine has been all blown up. So for us to be able to get back on the court and be able to do things with our guys is really precious for all of us. And we really we enjoy it, we embrace it, and we're looking forward to it. That every minute we can get to just watch guys improve and get better because again, things can be taken away and you're gonna miss it.
Lastly, like you've been an integral part of the Western New York college basketball circuit, maybe Western New York basketball as a whole, for over 30 years. I mean, you've.
Does integral mean old? Is that all it means? That's all.
Well,
That could be.
I'd say what I meant to say was you're a big. When somebody has a question, they usually come to you because of your experience. And you've started at Canisius College, my alma mater, as well. And you've had a big run. You went to a tournament, assistant coach with John Beeline. Then you took over. Then you moved to Madai, and now you've been at Damon. This is going to be your 7th year. And it just seems that whether you're on the sideline cheering on the guys, especially after when we successfully make the alley-oop, you're always just happy to be on the sidelines and around the guys. So why is this job so fun for you after all these years?
It's fun. It's fun. It is fun. I mean, here's why it's fun. Listen, Joe. I'm not fooling people. I haven't really worked the whole day in my life. What I'm doing is I'm coaching. I'm doing what I enjoy. And we talk to our guys about that. If you can find something you enjoy when you get out, something that's your passion, then it doesn't seem like work. Probably with you, similar to you in the communications field. And so I've been fortunate to do something I really enjoy. What I enjoy is I enjoy watching guys develop. I enjoy watching them walk across the stage. If you can see behind me, there are a bunch of pictures there of guys in their graduation gowns and see guys who maybe never would have thought they'd be able to graduate from college, but now they have their diploma, their degree, and they're able to move on. And so that to me is really special. And I think that's a lot of fun. Listen, I love the game of basketball. I've loved it since I was a little kid. My older brother played it. My younger brothers played it, and we were all definitely a basketball family. And it's I found a way to, even though I wasn't a very good player, I found a way to hang around in the game of basketball for a number of years. And this is one way. And I think the most important thing though is if you can impact kids' lives and help them end up being better than when they got here. The saying we use all the time is leave something better than you found it. When you walk out of the locker room, you see something on the ground, you pick it up, throw it away, right? Leave it better than you found it. And that's what we're trying to do here is when guys leave here, we want them to leave here better than when they got here. And so that to me, if we can help them do that and help them achieve that, That's pretty cool. Somebody sent me an article this morning. Damon Young, the guy who I coached at Canisius, I recruited and coached at Canisius when I first started there as head coach. And Damon was from Pittsburgh, never really had much of a career, but was a really good kid. And he's turned into a successful author. And he's on CNN. He's got his own podcast. He's selling books, art magazine articles, everything. And it's great. And you know what? Really, he found his niche. He even admits it. He talked about how he wanted to come to the go to Canisius to go to the NBA. And you know, reality, that's probably not what's going to happen. What you want to do is you want to find a way that people can find their niche, find their role in life, and then move on and find a way to make something out of themselves. And I think you see something like that. And that's a guy who didn't probably score 100 points in his career, but his education helped him develop and helped him in the future. And now he's able to give back to people. That to me is really cool, and that's part of paying it forward.
Well, you're going to continue to inspire many more players. Hopefully, this year. I know definitely this roster. A lot of the guys have said we've learned a lot from you, and hopefully that the best is yet to come for this team and for you in 2021. Mike MacDonald, Damon men's basketball coach. We truly appreciate you joining us, and hopefully we can do this again soon. Okay.
Definitely, Joe. Hopefully we can. We got a good group of guys. I mean, we didn't mention Ziv Baston has been great. For us as a role guy coming in, and we have a grad transfer, who we're really happy about, Sean Fesiero, who I think could be a real good player too. So we got a good mix of guys. It's just kind of getting them all together, and it'll be fun to watch them play. And that's what we're all hoping. We're hoping we can be out there playing. You can be out broadcasting, and we can have some fun.
Definitely. Thanks again, Mike, and appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully we'll be back on the court soon.
Definitely.
My special thanks once again to Damon men's basketball head coach Mike MacDonald for joining us this week. So much insight, so much knowledge and experience on and off the court. It was a great time talking with him this week, and hopefully you guys had as much fun too for episode number 10. That'll do it for Wildcat Weekly. I'm your host, Joe Kraus. Thanks again for tuning in. Be sure to keep washing your hands and social distancing and wearing your facial gear. And I'll see you next week here on Wildcat Weekly. Have a good one, everybody.